cases that I am interested in covering and would like your vote as to which case sounds the most interesting to you. Second, if you are not already subscribed, I would greatly appreciate if you considered doing so. And final housekeeping item, hidden gems. I am incorporating hidden gems in my videos. The purpose of these is for you guys to get more content from me. So, each video will have a fact about the case or a fact about myself that I will call out to you as a hidden gem. When you hear me say that, comment down below what the hidden gem is. When we get enough comments specifying what the hidden gem is, I will make a note of it and will create an additional video for you guys the following month. So essentially you have the opportunity to get double the number of videos from me in any given month. So if you want more content from me, make sure to comment that down below. That concludes the housekeeping, so let's jump into the cold case of Tammy Sawicki. On August 23rd of 1992, 21-year-old Tammy Sawicki would drop off her younger brother at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. Once she did this, she would then head towards Grinnell College in Iowa, where she was getting ready to start her senior year. The brother and sister duo had left their family home in New Jersey and were ready to both start another semester in college. Tammy was going to school and also an avid soccer player, and as she was approaching her senior year, she was trying to figure out what she wanted to do after graduation. And from what I read, she was dabbling with the idea of going to graduate school and getting a master's degree. But tragically, Tammy would never see this through. Tammy would also never make it to her university. The following morning, after she had dropped her brother off at school, it became very clear to her mother that she never made it to school. Her mother, Joanne Zwiwicki, would immediately call authorities, explaining to them that her daughter had left for college with her brother, was able to drop off her brother, but on her trip to her own university, something must have happened along the way, and she never made it. The night of August 23rd, an Illinois state trooper would also find Tammy's white 1985 Pontiac T1000 abandoned. Over the next few days, Joanne would pray for her daughter's return. But the discovery of the white Pontiac suggested that something really was terribly wrong, and the hope that she held on to was growing dimmer by the second. Tammy's mother and friends would spend the next number of days trying to piece together what assault. Not too long after this body was discovered, police would identify it as Tammy. This young, beautiful, ambitious college student had her life cut extremely short at the hands of a murderer that, over 30 years later, has not ever been found. The cause of death would be from the number of stabbings that she had to endure. 7 in her chest and 1 stab in her arm. Tragically, the life of this young woman who was set to enter her senior year of college and had so much life ahead of her was cut incredibly short, just off of Interstate 80 in Illinois. And to this day, nobody has been charged with the crime. Joanne ZIWICKI, who for almost a week after Tammy did not arrive at her university, would cling to the hope of the possibility of her daughter's safe return. But now the only hope that remains is that Tammy's killer will be found and brought to justice. Around 1 a.m. on June 26th of 2007, so many years later, a security guard at a Travel Centers of America truck stop on Interstate 24 in Nashville, Tennessee, discovered a body lying in the grass behind the station. This body would be that of 25-year-old Sarah Nicole Holbert from Ashland City, Tennessee, which was about 25 miles northwest of this truck stop. It had been determined that she had been shot to death. Based on surveillance footage from the truck stop, police investigating this case asked the public, especially truck drivers, for information regarding their person of interest. A 5-foot, 9-inch, 200-pound, white-haired trucker in his 40s or 50s who had been driving a white Volvo flatbed truck hauling a large tan container. 20 days prior to the discovery of Sarah Holbert's body, another body, that of Samantha Winters, had been found at a Pilot truck stop in Lebanon, Tennessee, which was a town east of Nashville. Just like Sarah Holbert's, Samantha Winters had also been shot dead, and she was left in a dumpster at the truck stop. Sarah Holbert had a arrest record, but it was only for minor offenses. But Samantha Winters was a 48-year-old woman with a long rap sheet, and she was described as a drug-addicted prostitute. So there were some pretty significant differences between these two women. So at the time it was unclear to police whether these killings were related, but their proximity in time and place, as well as a similarity in modus operandi, which basically means like similarity in the way of doing something. So basically these women were both murdered by a single gunshot. This did not allow investigators to dismiss the possibility that perhaps they were connected. Now, 3 weeks into the investigation of Sarah Holbert's murder, Police would arrest a man by the name of Bruce Mendenhall, who was a 56-year-old trucker, and he was apprehended on July 12th of 2007 at the same truck stop at which Sarah Holbert's body had been found. While detectives were working on an unrelated case, Nashville detective Pat Bastiglione spotted Mendenhall's truck pulling into this truck stop, and he noticed that the truck matched the one seen on the surveillance footage taken on the night of Sarah's murder. As he approached the truck and knocked on its door, the detective noticed blood in the cab of the truck, as well on Bruce Mendenhall's hand. The detective would ask permission to take a closer look inside, and when he did, he found a garbage bag stuffed with bloody clothing. These findings would lead police to suspect that Bruce may have killed someone just prior to this arrest. A search warrant would reveal evidence that was even more disturbing and incriminating, which was over 300 items that were found inside of his truck, including tape, a rifle and cartridges, knives, handcuffs, a razor blade, condoms, sex toys, latex gloves, and a nightstick. Also found was a .22 caliber handgun. Police would go on to identify the blood of at least 5 different women in the cab of his truck. And this time, when they figure out what's going on to an extent, Bruce Mendenhall would emerge as a potential interstate serial killer who, having been a truck driver for 18 years, could be linked to countless unsolved cases across several states. He would be given a court-appointed attorney and held without bail at a Nashville jail. So, perhaps you're starting to get an idea why I am telling the story of these 2 other murders, because this would become a significant suspect in the case of Tammy Sawicki. People that knew Bruce would describe him as temperamental and loud, but at the same time very private and somewhat standoffish. Bruce had once run for mayor of Albion, which was the town he was from, because according to the Albion police chief, Doyle Judge, he had been angry with the city for ordering him to remove junked vehicles from his yard. Bruce would lose his run for mayor, and I think it said he only had about 49 votes within the town. He was also described as being easily provoked and not friendly to his neighbors, and although this is not a crime, he was not well received. Bruce also did not have a known criminal record, so when he was arrested for such kind of heinous crimes and the talk of all this blood found in the gap with these bizarre items, it really came as a shock to this tight-knit community. Bruce was married to a woman by the name of Linda, who was very sick from complications from being a diabetic, and her diabetes had basically made her blind, and so she would stay with her sister as the shockwave spread throughout the town and would refuse to speak to reporters on the matter. initially charged only with the murder of Sarah Holbert, but during interrogations, he would implicate himself in 5 other crimes, including that of Samantha Winters. He would reveal details of the January 29th, 2007 killing of Deborah Ann Glover, who was 43 years old, and her body had been found behind a hotel in Georgia. And she was also a prostitute like Samantha Winters. He would also confess to the murder of Sherry Trinkard, who was 43 years old and a prostitute, whose body had also been found on February 22nd of 2007, and she had been shot in the head and tossed into a snowbank at another truck stop, which was in Lake Station, Indiana. He would also claim responsibility for the murder of Lucille Gretna Carter, who is 44 years old, and her body had been found near a trash bin on the side of a road outside of Birmingham, Alabama, on July 7th of 2007. She had been also shot, and her body was found similarly to that of Sherry Trinkard. Bruce would speak of the Indianapolis killing of 31-year-old Karma Purpura, who had been last seen on July 11th of 2007, which was the day before Bruce had been captured. He would deny being involved in her killing, but he did tell police that she had died from a gunshot to the head at a Flying J truck stop in Indianapolis. She was also a prostitute that battled drug addiction, and her body would never be found, despite Bruce describing a dumpster near a Hardee's restaurant. Her blood, as well as her cell phone, ATM card, and clothing were found in Bruce's truck, and in 2008, he would be charged with her murder. Bruce was charged with killing Sarah Holbert, Samantha Winters, and Lucille Carter. All 4 had been shot with a .22 caliber handgun, which we know that he had, according to a Marion County prosecutor involved in the case. He would tell the press that these women had been wrapped with plastic wrap and duct tape before they were shot, which is just horrible. After Bruce had implicated himself in 6 murders, police from across the Midwest and the South began to look through their unsolved cases, knowing that a man who had allegedly killed at least 6 in 1 year was likely to have killed before. Over 100 police agencies contacted the Nashville Metro Police, hoping to connect a cold case or a missing person to Bruce Mendenhall. Because Bruce had crossed so many state lines, an FBI task force would be assembled to go through his banking history and the records of the trucking company he worked for to retrace his steps over the prior 2 decades. One hit came from a town just north of Nashville, and analysis would reveal the blood of Letitia Milligan, who was missing from Millersville, Tennessee, since February of 2007. And this blood was present in the cab of Bruce's truck. According to a posting on the North American Missing Persons website, Letitia was addicted to drugs as well, and used prostitution to pay for her drug habits. Police would also attempt to connect Bruce Mendenhall to the death of Jennifer Smith, a 24-year-old prostitute whose naked body had been found in 2005 at a Travel Centers of America truck stop parking lot in Bucksnort, Tennessee, which is about an hour west of Nashville. Although there were many similarities between the slaying of Jennifer Smith and the women that Bruce had described to police, it would be determined that he was not her killer. In 2008, based on DNA evidence, another convicted killer by the name of John Wayne Boyer would be indicted with her murder. And he at that time was already serving a 12-year sentence for the Illinois killing of a 31-year-old woman. So, with all of this, police were very curious to know if Bruce Mendenhall's alleged killing spree could have extended all the way back to 1992, when Tammy was driving on I-80 through Illinois. There were several circumstances that connected Bruce to a killing that took place in 2001, possibly expanding the scope of his already very extensive murder list. Cindy Rogers was convinced that Bruce Mendenhall killed her sister, Belinda Cartwright, who was run over by a big rig truck while hitchhiking in Georgia. A composite sketch would be put together of Belinda's suspected killer, and it bared a striking resemblance to Bruce. Like his 2007 mugshot, the face in the composite sketch is gaunt, tight-lipped, and bespectacled. When news of Mendenhall's arrest hit the media, Todd Matthews, who was a member of a missing persons organization out of Cookeville, Tennessee, said that he immediately recognized Bruce Mendenhall from this composite sketch. Because Belinda Cartwright was one of several women who had been killed near Interstate 75, Todd Matthews said he had began to formulate a theory of an I-75 serial killer years before Bruce Mendenhall's arrest. Todd Matthews, who produces Missing Pieces, which was a weekly public service announcement intended to raise public awareness and help locate missing persons, said that authorities and newspapers didn't take notice of this theory until Bruce Mendenhall was captured in 2007. So, Bruce Mendenhall's alleged victims clearly do not have much in common with Tammy Sawicki, given that the majority of his victims were prostitutes, while Tammy was a very successful college student, like I said earlier, in her senior year and looking towards graduate school. Tammy was a wholesome young woman and athletic. She played soccer and also loved collecting seashells. Now, one of the reasons that investigators would try and chase this lead for as long as they did is because Something transpired the night that Tammy was driving to university that made her vulnerable. And it's the vulnerability of that night for her that they thought would make her an opportune victim for somebody like a serial killer, because these women that were prostitutes were very vulnerable in their own way, because they would make themselves available to these truck drivers to make money. And that night, Tammy would find herself in a very unexpected position where she needed help. Based on the reports of a passing driver that night, she was last seen standing on the side of the road by her broken down vehicle near mile marker 83 on I-80 in central Illinois. As she was standing on the side of the highway, a man was helping her, and he was described as 35 to 40 years of age, over 6 feet tall, and with dark, bushy hair. The witness would also recall that the man's tractor trailer was pulled over near Tammy's car. When Tammy's body was found 490 miles away in a ditch on the side of Interstate 44 in Missouri, the case gained national attention. The idea of a cold-blooded killer posing as a Good Samaritan caused a wave of anger and fear to sweep through the hearts of many people. At Grinnell College, which was a small private liberal arts school nestled on a sprawling rural campus, the community of students and faculty was just ridden with sadness at the loss of one of their promising young scholars. So women all over would start to get really afraid, feeling like driving across country to get to their school or to get back home to visit their family put them at risk of abduction, assault, and even murder at the hands of a truck driver, serial killer. They would also get scared that they couldn't trust a stranger's offer to help them if their car would break down, thinking that maybe they were actually a threat. An FBI task force was assigned to the Tammy Sawicki case. 14 investigators would set out to gather any information regarding Tammy's killer. In January of 1993, an anonymous female witness called the task force and told investigators that the wife of a man who matched the FBI's description, which was the bushy hair, over 6 feet tall, and 35 to, I think, 40 years of age, had entered her workplace for some routine blood work. This woman would show the witness a watch her husband had given her, and this Loris brand wristwatch was unique, and it had an umbrella on the face and played the tune "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." It matched the description of one of the personal items Tammy was said to have had with her when she disappeared. But these items were never recovered after her body was found. And the witness and this watch would lead investigators to Lonnie Beerbrut. Lonnie was 31 years old at the time of Tammy's death and was a convicted felon who had been serving 2 concurrent 20-year terms for a pair of armed robberies until he was paroled in 1990. He lived in Missouri, which was close to the stretch of highway between Springfield and Joplin where Tammy's body was discovered. After his release, Lonnie began to drive trucks, specifically a Kenworth truck. The red blanket in which Tammy's body was found was decorated with a Kenworth logo. A further coincidence was that Lonnie had been visiting some family in Illinois, mere minutes from the spot on I-80 where Tammy was last seen. However, after Lonnie was questioned and swabbed for DNA, he would be released and no arrest was made, unable to tie him to her murder. Unfortunately, other than Bruce Mendenhall and Lonnie, there had been no other leads, and this specific task force dedicated to Tammy's case would be disbanded shortly thereafter. 10 years after this, one of the investigators who served on that task force was still convinced that Lonnie Broaddus was the person that they were looking for. Now retired at this time, former Illinois State Police Master Sergeant Martin McCarthy announced in 2002 that the details surrounding Lonnie caused him to believe that the man was a suspect and should have been arrested. The facts regarding Lonnie's residence, the visit to his family, and the Kenworth logo were not known to the public until Martin McCarthy came forth with this information. However, Lonnie would die in June of 2002 at the age of 41, and so there really wasn't much talk of this further, and it was never concluded if Lonnie was actually the killer. In 2004, the FBI began to notice a pattern. The bodies of murdered women were being dumped along Interstate 40 in Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and Mississippi. These victims were mostly prostitutes who would spend their time at truck stops. They were picked up, sexually assaulted, sometimes bound, and murdered and dumped on the side of the road. Now, to help better connect suspects to victims, the FBI began a database of such victims and officially launched the Highway Serial Killings Initiative in April of 2009. The initiative helped conduct investigations between jurisdictions, which can be difficult to do, but is vital to solve cases in which the suspects travel hundreds of miles each day, like these truck drivers. Bruce Mendenhall would find his way on that list as an apprehended offender, and his victims are there as well. Police would say that Bruce Mendenhall ultimately confessed entirely to 6 different killings, all that transpired in 2007. In court, he would plead not guilty to killing Sarah Holbert. Now, after the case against Lonnie Broaddus was abandoned, progress in the hunt for Tammy's killer really slowed down. Every now and again, a trucker somewhere in the country would be charged with one or more murders. Knowing the nationwide mobility of such truckers, police would look for any sign that that trucker could be Tammy's killer. In 1997, Leo F. Rising, who was 28 years old, was charged with the sexual assault of a 35-year-old woman in Ogden, Utah, who had been led to a parking lot at gunpoint, assaulted, and then left duct-taped to a fence post in a remote rural area until she broke free and called police. Leo was also a truck driver from Illinois, and he appeared to be a promising lead for Tammy's killer until a very thorough check of his travel logs completely eliminated him as a person of interest in the murder. Another man who was 36 years old by the name of Wayne Adam Ford would be ruled out. In 1998, he had confessed to killing 4 women in California. But according to police, Wayne Adam Ford was a school bus driver in California when Tammy died. The logs of countless truck drivers were checked, but none would be a match to the area that Tammy was in. The case, though, was not forgotten, and in 2002, on the 10th anniversary of the murder, the FBI added an additional $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest to the already standing $100,000 reward that was being offered by an anonymous donor from Tammy's New Jersey hometown. Now, Joanne Zawicki really struggled because she had to kind of live through all of these faulty leads that kept coming up. And I cannot imagine how hard that must have been for her to get her hopes up that maybe they had found the right suspect, to just find out they weren't a match. The possibility that Bruce Mendenhall may yet be linked to Tammy's killing does bring mixed emotions, according to my research. And Joanne Zawicki would finally tell press that she recognizes that the murder of her daughter may never be solved. But with a combination of the vigilance of citizens and the FBI database and the glimmer of hope that still lives inside those who love her, maybe one day there will be justice for Tammy. So now, as of February of 2023, when this video is being released, it has been over 30 years since Tammy's murder. And to this day, there is still an FBI.gov webpage dedicated to her murder and disappearance, as well as the original missing poster. So I'm going to include all of that in the video. This webpage shows that her date of birth was March 13th of 1971. She had green eyes and blonde hair. She was approximately 5'2" and weighed 120 pounds. As mentioned earlier, the watch that played the tune "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head" was missing, as well as a Canon 35mm camera. And it's also suspected that she may have had a soccer club badge with her at the time of her disappearance on September 3rd of 2022, just a few months ago, through a Facebook page called Who Killed Tammy Sawicki, which has more than 4,000 members, had planned a motorcycle ride at the Pickens County Speedway to raise awareness of her death which I think is really quite lovely. And I just wanted to share a little bit more information about Tammy. She was very active on campus as an accomplished soccer player, which I mentioned, but she was also a photographer for the student newspaper, which is where that Canon camera comes into play if I had to guess. During the summer of 1992, she had spent much of her time abroad in Madrid, which she did like a study abroad kind of a program because the bachelor's degree that she was pursuing was in Spanish. Her mother would describe her as a very practical person and very smart about the things that she did. She was always busy and she always had something going on. I think it's really quite devastating that there were not any solid leads that led to a confirmed, convicted murderer. It's possible that the person that murdered her is one of the people that I mentioned, the Bruce Mendenhall, or even Lonnie. It's definitely possible, but the FBI was never really able to confirm those things. It's also possible that now whoever murdered her is also deceased, or perhaps they're still alive and were able to get away with it. But unfortunately, there is just not a lot of information that can lead to the killer. That will conclude the case of Tammy Sawicki. Please let me know your thoughts. Thank you, and until next time.